Today we are filming the mid-year freak out tag. This video's going up a little bit into July, but it's still halfway through the year, and I'm basing this solely on the books I read January through June. First half of the year, let's get into it. The question set, because I feel like there's a couple renditions of this going around that I specifically took these from, is from Kayla from Books and Lala. So thanks, girl. So the first question is, how is your reading going? Personally, for me, I feel like this is my best reading year simply of my life, and I'm going to credit all of that to Miss Cindy the Kindy, my Kindle that I got this year. I feel like I've just been reading so much, and it's so convenient because like I finish a book, I don't even have to get up. I can just click on the next one. Let's go, let's go. So I did a book at the beginning of the year. You can go back and watch it, and it was rereading my favorite childhood series. And I'm counting those books. I spent hours and hours reading it, and I read all the Junie B. Jones books, but there's like 28 of them, so I feel like, let me see what my Goodreads challenge says. Currently, how many books I've read? 88 books. Granted, 28 of them were the Junie B. Jones books, but that's still like 60 books I've read so far this year. That is crazy. So I think it's my best reading year ever, and based on Storygraph, I think also this is very much so because of the Junie B. Jones books, because I gave all of them 5 stars, but due to that, my average rating so far this year is a 4.2, which I'll say is pretty good. The next question is, what is the best book you've read so far in 2023? I think my favorite book I read this year, I don't even own it physically. Is it on my Amazon wish list? Yes. Do I plan on buying it for the trophy shelf? Yes. But that would be Ask for Andrea by Noelle Illy, I think. I don't really know how to pronounce her last name, but that book was just something else. I love like a suspenseful thriller type book, but in this book, no spoilers, this you know, is you are reading about a serial killer after he's committed these murders, and you're following 3 points of view of 3 of his victims after they have passed away. I'm the type of person where I'm stressed out, I get hives. I literally, reading this book, was like sweating, covered in hives, my eyes wide, could not stop reading. It was so good, so like gripping and wild, and I recommend that book to everybody. It is hands down my favorite book I've read this year, an immediate 5 stars. The next question is the best sequel I have read so far in 2023, and I'm going to be honest, I am somebody who reads mainly thrillers with like a dash of fiction and a dash of romance, so I don't read a ton of books that have sequels. I feel like the only thriller series I'm reading is the Housemaid series, and I didn't really love the second book, so I would not say that. So I would think, and I'm assuming sequel just means like, does it have to be like the second book, because this is not the second book, it's the 3rd book? I'm not going to pull these out, honestly, because I just reorganized these shelves, but I will have a picture pop up here. My favorite continuation of a series that I read was Running Wild by K.A. Tucker. I absolutely love the Wild series. I feel like most people enjoy it unless you go into it expecting like a heavy-duty romance. I feel like these books are very much so more literary fiction leaning, women's fiction, and I love them. I was really apprehensive going into Forever Wild because it is about a different character. Wild at Heart, Forever Wild, and The Simple Wild are all about like the same main character, Kayla and Jonah. And then Forever Wild, or Running Wild, is about Marie, who is the vet that you meet throughout the books and don't really like. So going into it, I'm like, I don't even like this girl. Why would I want to read this? But after reading it, it was so good, so heartwarming, and it makes me almost want to, I'm not a rereader, which we'll get into the next question, but almost makes me want to reread the original books and like feel it through her point of view. The next book is your favorite reread. I guess the Junie B. Jones books, because they're the only rereads that I have had. I reread the entire Miss Junie B. Jones series, and it was great. But other than that, I haven't reread a book. I think the only books in my lifetime that I've reread are some of my Ellen Hopkins books and Harry Potter, and I guess Junie B. Jones. So that'll be that. The next is the genres I've been loving the most this year, and that is going to be thriller / horror. Those are always like my favorite books. Those are the books that I can't put down. I read in like one sitting. I do find myself a lot of the times with romance and fiction books that like they take me a lot longer to get through because they don't grip my attention in the same way that thrillers and horrors do. With standout authors so far this year for me being Riley Sager, I only have one more book in his backlog to finish. Yeah, I think that's probably been my #1 favorite author this year. I'm like looking to see if there's any other. I've had tons that I've loved, but Frida McFadden, of course, everybody be loving her. And yeah, but I think probably Riley Sager has been my favorite thriller author so far this year. Next is new releases you haven't read yet but really want to, is probably these two. Bought them at the same time. And that is Horror Movie by Paul Tremblay. I've heard mixed things about it, but I love like this shiny slick cover, the red pages. I'm very excited about this one. And then again, I've heard mixed things about it. The Housemaid is watching, but I have read all of the books, the other two books, I guess. Like all the books, there's only 3 books, but I've read the other 2 books and I'm excited to finish out the series, and I'm pretty sure it's confirmed that that will be the last one. So I am excited to get to those. The next question is my most anticipated release for the second half of the year. My other favorite author, simply based on one book that he has written that is my favorite book ever, and that's Hidden Pictures by Jason Rukulik, I think is how you say his last name based on Instagram, Rukulik. But he has a new book coming out in October called The Last One at the Wedding. I don't even think I read the synopsis. All I know is that I'm ready for it, because I will be literally reading it probably the day it comes out, and I'm so excited to see what else this author comes out with. It's gonna be really tragic if I read it and it sucks, but I have high hopes in my boy Jason, okay? The next is the biggest disappointment, and for me that would be the most recent book that I finished, and that is a novel love story by Ashley Poston. This was our book club book for the month of July, and I read it like the last 2 days of June. Since it's our book club, I like to like get it read, and we use the Fable app, always linked down below. Have my thoughts and feelings in there. So I feel like it's kind of like in school if you did online classes, college, where you like had discussion posts. Like I want to put in all of my stuff so that I have the time throughout the month to go through and comment back to other people. So that book was just like not good. I did not like it. I thought it was boring. For me, most books, I will read it in 2 sittings. Whether that's over like 2 days back to back, but whatever, in 2 sittings. I read this, took me like 5 sittings to read this, like 300 something page book. It was so boring, so repetitive, and like the chemistry just I didn't get it. I feel like they hated each other until all of a sudden they loved each other, and it was just like not for me. And I have read The 7-Year Slip by Ashley Poston, and I really liked that. I gave it a 4.5, but that book was a no. My favorite thing about it was the cover. My biggest surprise is also a romance book. I feel like I know what I'm getting into with thrillers and like fiction for the most part, that like when I go into a romance, they have the opportunity to really disappoint or really shock me, and that is, I hate to say it because it's such a trendy book, and that is Things We Never Got Over by Lucy Score. I've had this book for probably like 1.5 years, 2 years now, sitting on my shelf and not wanting to read it because why the hell is it 500 pages? I ate that up. I read it in 2 days. I was flying through it and I absolutely loved it. And I know people don't love the second book, but like I'm ready to read it. Third book, I'm ready to read it. The books are so pretty. There was, yes, some very cringe things, but I think I overall gave it like a 4.75, 5 stars. I really enjoyed that book, and I continue to think about it. So yeah, if you haven't read it, in my humble opinion, it is worth the hype, and it was really good. My new favorite author, debut or new to you, my new favorite author from this year that I just started reading would be Rebecca Searle. I read One Italian Summer and In 5 Years from her, and I have this one that I think is her newest release, Expiration Dates. I love how short her books are, and they're just so satisfying. I think they probably lean more so into fiction, and I do really enjoy fiction without any romance in it, and her books are just so, like, I think all of them involve some sort of magical element, and they just pull at your heartstrings. I read One Italian Summer while in Italy, and it is very much so leaning in on, like, the dead mom situation, and as somebody with a dead mom, it really made me sob. And then I have my copy here. I had my sister read it last time she came to visit a couple of months ago, and she annotated it. And it's just like one of my most prized possessions now. And then I did read In 5 Years, and that book also had me sobbing. And you know, sometimes you just need like a good heartfelt cry. So as of right now, she has had only hits for me. I gave both of those books 4.5 stars. So I'm excited excited to run down the rabbit hole. I don't know how many books she has. Maybe it says in the front of this one. The only other adult novel that she has is The Dinner List that I have not read. Then she has 4 young adults, but definitely want to get The Dinner List then so I can complete her adult work. My new favorite character, I have 2, one being Evelyn Hugo from The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. I feel like you're supposed to hate her, but I honestly kind of think that she's a badass. And she's just a kick-ass woman, and she did what she had to do, and yeah, I thought she was great, so entertaining, such like a gripping and enthralling character. Loved her. And then I also was a really big fan of Anna in The Paradise Problem by Christina Lauren. I loved that she had pink hair, loved that she was Hot Mess Express. I loved her. She was great. Those were probably my 2 favorite characters from any books that I've read so far this year. Book that made me cry. One Italian Summer, like I told you, that book had me down bad crying at the gym. We were literally in our hotel room in Venice. We could not sleep because a lot of places in Europe do not have air conditioning, and our hotel room was one that did not. And we were in Rome. When we were in Rome, our hotel room had a fan, but in Venice it did not, and it was hot as shit. And so we had to have like the window open, but then they also don't have screens in Europe, so it was really stressful. But anywho, I was up, couldn't sleep, so I'm just laying in bed. Chris is sleeping, and I'm sobbing into my Kindle reading this book, okay? So good. Loved it. Book that made me happy. Honestly, I just had to go with something that made me smile, and that's right there. It is Dungeons and Drama by Christy Boyce. It is a YA romance. It's very D&D heavy. If you don't know, me and my best friends all have a D&D group together, and I just loved all the references to like Ticket to Ride, Pokemon. Like, the girl loves musicals, so she plays a bard. Like, it was just so well done and so cute, and I absolutely loved it. The most beautiful book you've bought so far this year or received, I didn't know if we were taking it based on cover or based on the actual story, so I gave you one of each. For the cover, I'll have a picture put in here. I think the most beautiful book I've purchased this year cover-wise has got to be The Summer Will Be Different by Carly Fortune. Love like the sunset-y vibes. All of her books are stunning, but this one especially, I love like the summery sunset energy. And then beautiful like the message in the story, I would say probably The Wishing Game by Meg Schaefer. That book also made me pretty emotional, pulled at my heartstrings. I feel like everybody's read it at this point. It was just so good. What book do I just simply need to read by the end of the year? That one is easy for me, and that is Final Girls by Riley Sager. It's the last book in his backlog that I have yet to read, and it's also his first thriller that he ever wrote. So, kind of funny that I'm reading it last, but I am excited to get this one read and say that I read them all and done the dang thing, you know? Favorite video or post I've done this year. I think my favorite video book related that I've done was my Instagram Picks My Reads video. It was so fun being able to interact with people and have you guys pick my reads. If you want to see another one of those, let me know down below. And then the last question is my favorite book community members. So my favorite booktubers. I don't really participate in TikTok. I have one for my business, but I don't like scroll TikTok. My favorite booktubers are, of course, Kayla, who I took this tag from, which is Books and Lala. I've been really loving Gabby from Gabby Reads. I've been really loving Larry from Larry Reads, or just Larry on Instagram. On YouTube. And then Ellen Catherine, she's a UK girly, love her. And then Reagan from the Peruse Project, which is so funny because like Larry reads mainly like smutty dark romances. I don't read that. Ellen reads a lot of smutty romances. I don't really like smut. And Reagan from the Peruse Project reads fantasy, and I hate fantasy, but I just love their content, so here we are. But Gabby and Kayla do read a lot of horror and thrillers. So yeah, that is everything for this video. I will leave the questions down below. I tag all of you to do this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!